Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Yalla Salesforce. We will continue our journey with Yalla Salesforce Trail Max. Over the last couple of sessions, we started a new journey to dig more into the Salesforce administrator role, understanding more about business process automation, getting more familiar with flows, and we started this trail together, Build Flows with Flow Builder. In this trail, we started to get familiar with different flow types, from screen flow that will allow you to have an interactive guided path throughout the user journey, like record trigger flow, auto launch flow, understanding more how can we make our flow modular, and going through the subflows, getting familiar with the variables and collections, and how can we allow those variables to be input and output, understanding the flow builder logic, how can we have decisions, assignments, loops, all of these great stuff. And we learned as well, if we just did manipulation for the data without using a data element, nothing touched Salesforce database. That's why we started to learn more about data elements, create triggers, get triggers, and update triggers, delete triggers. And then we started to talk about actions. How can we submit for approval, putting a chatter post, sending an email. After that, we started to talk about the record trigger flows, and that all of these things are reaction for a record have been changed. So if there is a change on the record and we need to react to it, and we agreed on different contexts from before save, after save. We talked about as well for the schedule path and what are the difference between synchronous, asynchronous, and then auto launch flow and the schedule flows. Today, we're going to start a new journey with the screen flows, digging deep into the screen flows. But before we get started, I believe let's begin with the end in mind, what we are trying to achieve. So this is exactly what we are trying to achieve. So we will jump to the Salesforce org, our playground, and we will go for a tab called Create Case. This is when Mr. Jake calls us and he has a problem. Now, the service agent gonna open this UI, which is a screen flow embedded within a Lightning page. He will have a script in here, or she will have a script in here. The agent will have this script, and it will allow them to start saying thank you and so on, just guiding our agent to respond to Mr. Jake. After that, we'll have a screen like this, allowing the agent to put the problem description and the case subject. Also, we will have a toggle in here, and this will allow us to translate this into a status for the case. Is it closed by the end of that call or not? So if it's not solved, that means it will still, the case will be open, but if it's solved, I will be toggling that, and this will close the case at the very end. So on the top of that, you will find in here, while I started to type, I have all of that is validated, because we are expecting in here to have 20 characters. So I have a problem with and then once I exceeded the 20 characters, started this validation is satisfied. Also, you will be able to see that we have this little small red asterisk. That means that this field is a required field. You have to enter a value in here. Otherwise, when you hit next, it will tell you that you are missing a value in here. So problem with my device. Once you do that, so we satisfy the condition in here being a required field. We also satisfy the minimum length in here, and then I will hit next. Now it's a guided path, guiding me to the next step. What do we have in here? We have a data table that allow you, when we have a follow-up, who will be the point of contact. Is it still Mr. Jake or someone else belonging to the same account? So I will be saying, yeah, it's a Mr. Jake. Then we have an option in here to put a priority. So we have this radio button, which will allow me to say, yes, this is a high priority. After that, we have a lookup in here saying who will be the QA reviewer, and we have a default value, the default value for the current user, which is me. So we have this in here as well. Then we have a case reason. So this is showing you another option for a pick list, showing you that, yes, I have an installation. And all of these values is coming from the object metadata. So I have a case reason failed, and with all of these options. So whenever we change the values in the pick list, it's going to be reflecting in here. But you notice that when I click the installation, nothing happened. But if I change it to be equipment complexity, that means we need to have a follow-up. So it's conditional rendering this part, this element, based on, yes, the selection for the pick list. So I can select in here 8 to 11, and then I will say create a case. So all of this so far, we are capturing the input from the user. We didn't hit any database yet. The moment I say create case, and you will notice that I already renamed the button, because by default it's next finish. But now I have the flexibility as well to rename the button. After that, it gives me another screen enabling me to upload a file. I can go in there, upload a file, hit done, and the moment I do that and I say restart, everything gonna be committed to the database. What I mean by that, now I started to have a case related to Mr. Drake. And when I go there and click the case, you will be able to see, yep, we have in here available callback time. We will have the description that we put. I have a problem with my device, and this is the subject for it, and the priority, and when it's open. Plus, if I went to the related, you will be able to see the attachment we attached. So this is the full end-to-end journey that we will be achieving together today. Any questions? So far, so good? Lovely. Right. So let's jump to the trade. Start in here. We start in here understanding more about the power of interaction. Automation is amazing, but sometimes you need an automation to be a little less. People, not programs, are the heart, soul, and mind of your organizations. People to make a decision and take actions. All right. So with the screen flows, Salesforce interact with your user, asking question, presenting information, giving you choices, as we saw, that will allow you to input the description and subject. But in the same time, when we navigate to the following screen, a lot of choices for you, making your life easier. Plus, putting at the very end this screen flow into embedded within Lightning page, exactly as we explained, or we can even take it to an Experience Cloud page. So we talked at some point that there is another product called Experience Cloud, which allow you to have a portal for your customers and partners. You can as well embed this screen flow within it. All right, so with all this power, screen flows position as superhero to your user. It's the guided path for them, guiding them through the process by presenting them what they need, when they need it, by their input guide, and automate their tasks. So far, so good? All right, so let's jump to what is the screen and see what are the different elements of that screen. So when we go in there, saying we can kick off this by going to the setup and saying flow. And within the flows, you will be able to say in here new flow, and you will be picking I need a screen flow. So this is the screen flow. What do we have? We have we can add in here a screen, which is aligned with this screenshot. So you have the screen flow in here. It goes from top to bottom, and you might have decisions and so on. You can add element, as we added the screen element now, and then we need to add components, and we have the canvas in here. So this is what we are explaining in here. So we have a screen element. Those are different elements. And within in here, we have the components that we will keep dragging and dropping into the canvas, which will allow us to get this screen. All right. So a screen is a page that user sees when the flow runs. Each page is defined by a single screen element of flow. So every next we had before, it's gonna be a different screen element. So screen one, and then I will say yes, done. And then if I need to hit next, that means it's another screen saying it's a screen two. All right. After that, we have within the screen itself, we have different components. What are those components? It's three buckets. First, input. Second, display. Third, fields. So let's understand what are the differences. In here, if it's an input, I will say this is a text. Here we go. This is text. Subject. This is exactly like what we were capturing in the case. I can make it required. So I have now a field called subject, and I can put a default value, and I can do a visibility control, and I can validate the input, everything. We will be practicing all of these things together. In the same time, you can have a checkbox. My validated. All right. So this is another checkbox in here. We can have a pick list. This is the pick list. And we were talking about the severity for the case. So I can say in here, this is severity. And this is in here. And then I will be asked to have a choice. And we'll be going through the different choice options in here. So I can say new choice, and I can say this is coming from pick list choice set. And this is going to come from the case. And from the case, I will say this is a pick list, and I will say priority. Here we go. And this pick list for priority. Done. And in here, let's align it with the name of the field. So I will name it priority. So it's all about different elements that allow you, or different components that allow you to put an input. At the same time, you can have, so this is the input. You have a display. So you can say, all right, this is the welcome section. And I can have even a header. And I will say welcome section. Here we go. And in here, I can have a display text. And within the display text, welcome Mr. / Mrs. And I can put even a resource saying, give me the user name, first name. Here we go. So now it's gonna take this text. I will make it even here. I can format it, say this is bold, and I can make it green and just say that. All right, and this will be text welcome. Here we go. So this is a collapsible section, and I have a display text with a lot of input in here. What else? So we now covered the input, we covered the display. Last piece will be the field. So if we are talking about in here the case object, now I need to provide a record variable. Do I have variables? No, but I can create. I can say it's a new resource, and this is var case, and here this is going to be the case object, and I will hit just done. Let's see if I need to add the same priority, but from fields this time. What is the difference? You see in here, you have a great options to set require. You can change the label, all of these great stuff. But when I dragged it from the field, it's easier because I didn't configure any options. I didn't have to like put the choice and so on. So it's all inherited from the object metadata itself. But can I change the label? No. Can I change whether it's required or not? The answer is no. So it limiting you to whatever we have in the object. But think about scenario that you need to drag like 20 fields. It will be very hard to go to the components, inputs, and start putting one after the other. But if you aligned with whatever we have in the object metadata, it will be way easier to come in here and start dragging and dropping. So far, so good. I believe we built already a great screen together. So let's save it. Say test screen element. And let's hit save. And debug it. See what did we achieve so far. All right, so I'll run. You will find in here a section. And it will find that my first name is Yalla Salesforce. And we have a display text, a subject that when you hit next, it's required, my case. And you have a checkbox. You have a priority that we got the values by ourselves from the choice that we built. And we have a priority coming from the field, providing the same exact experience, but without the same flexibility that you can change whatever choices you have. I can make this required. I don't have a control over this one. So if I came back in here, priority required is no, but I can make this required. And this is the difference between the getting the input from an input component versus getting the input from the field value. All right. So here is a required. So the moment I put this one and I navigate, it will ask you to put a choice. So far, so good. Lovely. So let's get back in here. Display component only display information that don't accept input. Input receive an input from the user. They hold that input to use later in the flow. Record field also receive input from user, but store that input in a record variable. And then we will be dealing with this record variable, and we will have all of this great experience together. Of these three components, input components are used the most because we need to capture information from the user, right? And then think of input component like field on Salesforce. They allow user to input data. They hold that input. However, ScreenFlow holds the data only until the flow ends. No save. We just aligned that no save without using a data element such as create record or update record. Input components are like object field in another important way. They share a lot of same data types. So they are text, checkbox, lookups, addresses, and so on, to name just a few. As a rule, if a field type exists in Salesforce, so there is a way to ask a user to type data in a screen component. All right. Because of these similarities, it's easy to use the screen flows to work with records. Why? Because you might be having like 100 record or 100 field, my apologies, on the account object, but you don't want to have the user to input all of these data, and they're going to be very overwhelming input screen. So you need to simplify it with the minimum pieces of information that you need. Accordingly, you can have a guided screen flow that allow you, while you are onboarding your customer, you can collect the information you only need. This feeling can make some user avoid entering the data. That's why it's good to build, like, rather than depending on having this overwhelming record page, you can build a very simple flow to just capture all the information you need. Capture customer help request with a screen flow. All right, so now we have an idea for the different, what the screen flow is, what is the element, canvas, components, input, display, fields, and let's build this flow that we saw together. All right, so before we dive in, to create the flow, let's gather some more information and sketch out the plan. You need to design first a plan for the flow. First, you meet with some support manager to find out what information they want to capture, caller description, and then you need to put the support agent summary of the issue, and then an indicator to say that whether it's resolved or not, so which is the toggle we saw. Let's break it down. To allow agent to capture information, you need a flow that allow user input. And then after the agent collect the new case information, you need to get the information into a new case record in Salesforce. You need to make it stick within the database. So you need to create the record. After that, because the support agent is viewing the caller contact record, you probably want the flow to have some information from the record. You need to capture some information from the contact. All of these are available and possible to be achieved within a screen flow. All right, so we're going to build a screen element. We will be putting the description. It's a long text. Subject, it's a short text. And we have a status, which is toggle. And we will see how we can transform this toggle, which is giving me either true or false, into a real status. Right? So if the toggle is set to solve, that means it returns true and the formula should return closed. If not, that means it's going to be new. Also, we will be allowing to pass parameters to know which account ID to be relating to and which contact, the current contact record. So far, so good. So we have a clear picture. We are familiar now with how can we navigate within the screen flow. Right, so let's jump to the quiz. What types of screen components receive input from users? So input will be, is it a display component, input fields, record components, input components, and record fields. All right, so this will be the right choice. In screen flows, how do you save the data that user enters Salesforce? We said whatever happens in the flow will not touch the database without using a data element. Everyone is aligned? Sounds awesome. We made the first unit together. All right, next one. Let's put it in practice. So let's launch our playground. Let's create a new screen flow, and we're gonna put all of these things together. screen element, description, subject, status, create record element, account ID, contact ID, and so on. All right, so let's go there. Let's build a brand new screen flow. New flow, and this is going to be a screen flow, screen flow. Here we go. Add a screen element. So the first step, if we need to have an interactive and we have a screen, so let's have a screen. The screen need to have a name, and it is going to be translated into having an API. What else? Add a guided text. So in order to add a guided text, that means we need to have a display text. So this is happening in here, display text. What will be the value in this? All right, before that, we need to specify an API. Anything in Salesforce needs an API. And then we will be saying, say, all of these great stuff. So I'll come in here and let's paste in here, say this thing. Change the formatting. We have the option to say this is the color, put this in a new line, make this bold, make it red. Done. And it's the experience of what you see is what you get. I see it's blank. That means I made something wrong. I just need to take this guy, put it in here, and then hit done. And now, since I see it red, now we are good. All right, so we did this and we changed the formatting. What else? Add questions. All right, so now it's time for capturing some information from the user to drag long text area. So this is long text input. Yep, makes sense. What's it called? It's called the problem description. And this is what I want to show it to the users, problem description. But it will be hard while I am like navigating and doing the create element and so on, and to understand where we are and so on. So it's good to have a more descriptive API name for that field. So I name it screen description. You're creating a screen component and label and the API name. All right, so sometimes it makes sense to create screen component with a label that's easy for the user, but in the same time, along with an API name, it's easy for other admins to understand. We need it required. You have to provide a description. After that, I'm gonna do the same thing with the subject, but this time it's a text. So I'll take the case subject and I'll be dragging in here, just the text. And from the text, I'll be putting in here case shop. In the API, again, I will have follow the same naming convention, naming screen subject, and I will make it required. What after that, we mentioned that we need to have a toggle to determine what will be the status for that case. So I'll be dragging toggle. API name, close case. Label, it's a great question, which is where you'll be able to solve the problem or not. And then when it's true, that means it's an active label. So active label, that means it is going to be visible when it's true. It will show yes, solved. And what's inactive, no, not solved. So this is the inactive label. Here we go. And then click done. All right, so we built the first screen. Let's save it so we can debug it and see things in action. I love, like always, to see what's going on while we are building. In case we have a problem, we will be able to find it out early in the process. So create case for contact, and this is, let's name it Basim. All right, Basim, create case for contact. Save. We saved it. Let's debug it. See it in action. All right, so now I can see, say this is to the caller and put the instructions. You have to provide a problem description. If you said finish, it will ask you that it's required. This is my problem. And the same thing for the subject. And now it's no, not solved. When it's yes, yes. This is what we built so far. All right, let's go back. Now it's the time for couple of parameters. Use the answer to create a case. In order to translate that toggle into a real status, so I need to get this close case value and start translating it. How can we translate things from true to false to a status, I need to do a new resource. And within the new resource, I'll be hitting a formula. What will be the formula name? It will be this. As you remember from previous sessions, we have all the options for functions. So if I want to say if then else, so here we go, if. And then if I need to say logical test, and I need to get this from the screen, and what I need to capture from the screen, I need to get the close case toggle. So this can be a resource in here, and it is gonna be the where you're able to solve it, and I need the value. So it's gonna translate into the close case the value. So in here, showing you the label, which allow you to capture that value. And if it's true, that means I need to do, that means if it's true, that means it's a close, otherwise it's a new. So this is how the formula is gonna look like. We can build it through the resources, functions, operators, all of these great stuff, but let's, for easier, put it in there. All right, what is the error? Because I didn't specify the data type. So I need to say, yes, the return in here gonna be text. So let's check syntax, everything is good, now it's done. We built that formula. In the same time, we agreed that we need to pass the contact ID, and we need to pass as well the account ID. So I'll be creating two new resources. This is text, and the name is input contact ID. There we go. And this is available for input. Let's do another one. Variable, data type text, and it is going to be the input account ID. Here we go. And this is again available for input. Done. We made it. So done. After that, we collected all the information. It's the time for creating the case. So I need to do a create record the data element. So let's do that. Create records, and within create record, I will name it create case. And since we didn't construct any variables, so I need to come in here saying instead of from a variable, let's do it manually. I need to create a case, and now let's start the mapping. Account ID, contact ID, description, subject, and I'm assuming the status which we built the formula for, right? So account ID, contact ID, status, and subject. Perfect. Account ID is coming from the input parameter, account ID. This is coming from input, contact ID. So this is coming from input, so from here, and I will be going for the description. This again coming from the screen, and this coming from the subject. Finally, the status is coming from the formula, so this is the formula status. So far, so good? Lovely. All right, so let's save it. Let's debug it and see. It's now expecting an account ID and contact ID, because this is what we passed. So let me go there. In here, we have this for Mr. Jake. So I will go for the contact. Jake. Let me get the contact ID for Jake. Here we go. This is the account ID. This is the contact ID, my apologies. And what is the account ID for Jake? So this is Salesforce, and this is the account ID. All right, so let's run it. What's gonna happen? I have a problem. Okay, subject, and let's put it as solved. That means it's gonna be closed. All right, you will be able to see that this accepted as an input parameter, this accepted as an input parameter as well, which is the contact ID. The description was stored, the subject was stored, and the status became closed and created this case for us, which committed to the database. So as we learned before, we'll take the ID, and then we can navigate it. It's related to Jake. This is the Salesforce. We will be able to see all the input that we put together, subject and description. So far, so good. Lovely. All right. And the status is closed. Let's go back to the module. I believe we made it. We don't have time to go through the challenge, but this is going to be your homework. So we will continue with the scenario that we built together. And please go for your homework to get your hands-on experience. All right, so what's next? Now we finished the first screen. It's the time for moving to the next screen. So I'm in here. We finished all of that together. We didn't do yet the validations. All of that gonna come later, but we built the foundation for it. Now it's time to build a couple options, and this is what we're gonna build. Users usually doesn't like to have like a worthy questions and answers and so on. If you can provide multiple choices, this will be awesome. All right, so users tend to prefer picklist fields when working with Salesforce record because it's easier to select rather than keep typing, because eliminating spelling errors and inconsistency, so which improves the data quality and reporting and so on. All right, what are the options? We have a pick list, we have radio buttons, we have multi-select pick list, and we have a checkbox group. And this is what we're going to see in here. Multi-select pick list, we have a checkbox group, we have a radio button, and we have a pick list. We're going to build all of that together within this experience. Now, the choice. So let's go in here and have another screen, and let's play. So, all right, I'll build another screen, and I want to show you the choice, pick list. When I drag a pick list, you will find in here a choice. What choice means? You have multiple options. First, a choice. I can hard code it saying it's A. That's it. So whenever I open this choice, this is gonna give me an option for A. That's it. The second option is I can create a collection choice set. So if you have a collection in here, you can embed it. This can through an Apex defined collection. This can be a get records that's returning for you multiple records, which is a collection. Any collection can be a choice in here for the pick list. What's next? I have a record choice set, and now it will ask you which object. I can say, get me this from account. And then it will ask you what will be the filter criteria. So I can say name contains test. And then I can have a sort. I can have multiple number of choices, and then I can specify the label and the value, what will be displayed for the user, and what I'll be storing in the database, and so on. Last option is the one we used in when we were just starting the module, pick list choice set, which asks you to specify which object and then which field you wanna status, and then now it works. So those are the 4 choices. Choice, give user simple values to choose from. Record choice, present user with a field set of records to choose from. Pick list choice set. So this is where allowed us to enter an object and a field to choose from. Pick list choice set, this is allowing you as well. Record choice set, this will allow you to enter the object, and then you put a filter criteria. Pick list choice, which will allow you to go to the object and put the field. And finally, the collection is when you build a collection using a get record or Apex and so on. All right, so let's go for second screen, and let's put all of that in action to build the case priority, point of contact, best time, and so on. Right, so I'll go back in here. I don't need this anymore. We're just showing you. And in here, within the label, this is question page 2. Create a single choice question from a pick list. So we need to add a radio button and to understand what will be the priority. So let me go in here and let's say I need a radio button. And what the priority for that case. So this is the label in here. For the API, I don't want to have all of, I need to have it simple, screen priority, and this is required. Now it's the time for the choice, where we will bring this choice. So we'll go in there, saying within the choice, new choice resource. And there's going to be a pick list choice set. All right, so that means I need to provide which object and which field. This is going to be called choice priority pick list. Here we go. And the object going to be case. And this data type will be pick list. And this is coming from the priority. And just hit done. Now we have a radio button going to show us all the priorities available within the case object. All right, so the next one is to add a pick list for the point of contact. So let's go in there, add a pick list in here. And within the pick list, I'm gonna name it point of contact. Now it's the time to practice different choice, because I need to have a criteria in here. Get me all the contacts belonging to the same account that initiated that flow, the parameter. So I will go for choice all contacts. All right, so go in here, another choice, add new choice, and now there's gonna be, yes, it's gonna be a record choice set. And this is the name. And I need to bring, so this is the choice, and it's a record choice set, and the object is gonna be, I need to bring this from contact. When the account ID equals the input account ID. All right, so account ID equals input account ID. So we satisfied all of that. Now the label, what will be visible for the user? I need to have the name. But in the back end, when I need to store it, I need the ID. All right, perfect. So done. Now I have the choice all contacts visible in here. Now it's the time for multi-select. Right, so what will be the best time? In which time slot can we call the customer for follow-up if needed? So I need to add a checkbox group. So checkbox group, put it in here. And this guy gonna be labeled with that. The API name gonna be short, and it's for a choice, enter 8 to 11. Now it's the time for just normal choices. There is no database, there is no collection. I just need to say I need it from 8 to 11. So I can, as simple as saying this and click the plus, and it will add it as a choice. The next one, it will be 11 to 2. So 11 to 2, add it as a choice. Add one more, which is 2 to 5. Now we are evolving our flow to exactly look closer to whatever we are building. We keep evolving, and then we're gonna enhance some validations, and then we're gonna arrange our screen. All of that gonna come. All right, so we ended up exactly the same way. We have all of these great choices. So let's hit done and see from the UI where we are. Debug. Now asking me for an account, asking me for a contact. I will be running, putting in a description, putting the subject, putting the status, and when I hit next. All right, so this came from the object definition, from the priority. Point of contact is coming by querying this specific account, getting all the contacts. And finally, hard-coded list of choices in here, which are 8 to 11. But I am wasting all of these inputs because I didn't touch the database. So we need to update the create element in order to accommodate all of these new pieces of information within the case. When you add a create record element, we didn't have all of these input parameters. So you use the input contact ID variable to set the contact for the new case. Now the agent can choose different point of contact. So we need to get this from the point of contact in here. So let's go back and update whatever we have. So we have now a couple extra fields. So let's close that. Let's go here, close that as well. Let's go for create case, and we will have a couple fields. First, priority. Priority. And this priority gonna be coming from here. And which one? What priority? And then after the priority, we have the internal comments. All right, so internal comments. Internal comments will be hard coding available callback times is callback times. So I can take this and then in here call back in which time slot. So this is the callback time, but I can double click on it and I can append whatever I need. Now it's gonna take available callback times and then adding the callback times concatenated together. All right, so we added those ones. So we added in here the priority and the internal, save the flow, and we should be good to go. All right, we finished the third unit actually. Any questions? So far, so good? Perfect. All right, now let's add more options to your screen. If you remember, let's go back in here. We have a lot of other options. We have the QA reviewer, we have the case reason, which will conditional rendering and all of these great stuff. Also, you will notice the point of contact in our scenario was a pick list, but now it's a data table. Why? Because I need to see the title, the email, the business phone. I need to see extra pieces of information related to that contact, not just the name in a pick list. So this is the whole purpose of that unit. But before we do that, we don't have QA reviewer. So let's go for the data, the object, which is the case object we are dealing with. Let's add a new field called QA reviewer. So I'll go back in here, object manager, case, and within the case, I will say fields and relationships, and I will be putting the new, and I'll be putting a lookup. This is the lookup relationship, and it's related to user. Next, the label for it is gonna be QA reviewer. And that's about it. Keep everything to the default. So we'll just have a field called QA reviewer, and I will name it because I had another one, BI underscore QA reviewer. Next. Perfect. Next. And I will hit save. Lovely. All right. So we have the QA reviewer now. All right, so now the time to build a data table. We mentioned before that we have this point of contact, which is a pick list, but it doesn't give me the full experience I'm looking for. I'm looking to see the title in order to be able to confirm the role. I'm looking for the email, the phone number. And in order to do that, we need to have a data table. Data table accept a collection. That means I need to get records first in order to build this table and feed it with all the data and then add it to the screen. All right, so we'll go back to the create case and the contact ID. I don't need this input contact ID anymore, or even the pick list coming from the screen. So we don't need this one, contact ID. So let's remove it. After that, we are saying we need to build that connection. So before the screen, in order to enable that data table to have all the data, so I need to get records. What do I need to get? I need to get the contacts where the account ID equal input account ID. So let me get this one, get contacts from here, get contacts, and this is gonna come from the contact object. And I need to say where the account ID equals account ID, which is the input. But there is a very important one in here, radio button you need to make. Only the first record will not bring you a collection. But if you put the all records, it's gonna bring you a collection. And this is what you need. Now, let's go to the page 2. Point of contact, pick list is no longer needed. And now I need to have a data table. This is the data table I have. What's called point of contact. This is the API. The label will be point of contact. All right, here we go. And then use the label. So you'll be able to see point of contact in here. Now it's expecting for me to give a collection. So this is coming from get contacts. Also, you can have a search. So you can search if you have a list, a long list, you will be able to see. Now, do you need to have it as a multi-select, single select, or it's just a view? So we are saying it's going to be a single selection in here. Perfect. Select require use to make a selection. It's required to make a point of contact. And finally, for source field, select name. So now it's the time for the column, configure columns, and I will be putting in here name. Perfect. So name and hit done. And then I need to add title, email, business phone. All right. So done. Add another one. Title. Perfect. Done. And you can even change it. So it's driven from the field label, but you have the option to change it as well. So after that, I can say the email. And finally, I need the business phone. Here we go. We made it. And click done. Now we have a data table. Quickly add existing field with minimal configuration. So we captured so far a lot of input fields coming from here. From inputs, we tried the display as well. It's the time to have a field. So let me done See, because I created that field, you might not find it. So we need to go back in here and go to the home, flow, close, and let me open the flow. So it will refresh the record metadata and so on. And now let's add this to the flow. So the most efficient way to add an object field to a screen flow to use a record field component. You might heard we just saw it now. You might have heard this feature referred to as dynamic forms for flow. All right. So the dynamic, which is in the Lightning app builder. If you remember, while you are building the page, we navigate to field and start to drag and drop. It's exactly the same thing. Record field components resemble fields on Salesforce object. To use record field, you need to have a variable, and then you start dragging and drop. It's so great. Why haven't you mentioned before? Because we said there are limitations. If you want to change the label, if you want to make it required, it will not give you this flexibility. The case, description, and subject field are not defined as required fields in a Salesforce, but the support team here wanted as a required, so we didn't have a choice. If we dragged it, we can't change it to be a required. That's why we need to have it as an input. Now, add a Picklist record field for the lookup record field component. All right. So in the question page 2, click the fields. Let's go there. Fields. Do I have anything? The answer is no, but I need to define a variable. So that's why I need to define in here new variable. And from the API name, I name it case variable, and in here called case. The moment I do that, you will find all the fields. One of them is the one we need to drag. Perfect. For object, click done, and so on. Drag case reason from the field set and the drag QA reviewer. So case reason. All right. And we need to have a QA reviewer. Lovely. Just like that, you have added Picklist and the lookup field for your script with the names, object configuration, and Picklist values already set for you. I didn't do anything. I didn't define any choices. Imagine how fast. Just keep dragging and dropping. Create lookup field with different settings. While you are building this screen flow, you received another requirement. The QA reviewer lookup must be required, but we didn't define it as required on the database. So we have no choice. We have to remove the QA reviewer from here, and we need to change it to be a lookup input. Yes, like regular field, the lookup components imitates an existing field from Salesforce object. However, the lookup component offers more configuration than the record field component, including setting default values, putting it as required, and so on. It's configuration style, so that's why we need to switch gears. Right, so I'll come back in here, say I can't use this QA reviewer. It doesn't allow me to put a default value, and it doesn't allow me to make it required. So I'll delete it. I'll go back in here into the component, make it a lookup in here. And then now the lookup. What the lookup is expecting from me, it's expecting me to have the API for the field, the API for the object, and so on. All right. So what this is gonna show me? This is gonna show me in here the API. Let me go back in here, the lookup, asking me what is the API name for this one in the first place. For API, enter just screen reviewer. Field the API name. So the field API name is QA reviewer. We just named it BI QA reviewer because I had an original one, but let's go for the original one, which is the QA reviewer. Perfect. So this is the name of the field within the object, but still waiting for me to provide the name of the object. So it's just called case. For the label, let's name it QA reviewer. Here we go. Now we mentioned a couple things. So in here, I started to have a field. Now we need to make it a default value for the user ID. Also, I need to make it required. So within the required, in here, where the required, I will make it to true. And within the default value, we just mentioned that I need to set it with the current user. So where is the default? Default. So maximum selection, record ID, record collection. And I need to put it within the record ID. So within the record ID, I'll just write user. And what do we need to store? We need to get the user ID. So I'll go from here and I will say defaulted to the current user ID. All right, update, create record elements. Now it's the time to put the contact, putting the QA reviewer, putting the reason, all of these great stuff. Right, so let's go back in here and add the contact ID, add a field. We just removed the contact ID based on the input parameter or the pick list, but now let's return it back. Where the contact ID gonna be coming from? It's gonna be coming from here, and it's gonna be coming from the data table. And then I need to get the first selected row, and now I need to get the contact ID in here, and I need to get the contact ID. Here we go. You can validate here. All right. So now I got the contact from the contact ID from the data table. Anything else? The contact ID won't select from a data table in each row and has multiple columns and all of these great stuff. Allow users to select multiple records. Flow builder use the record that user selected first, because I just clicked the first selected records. Get value from lookup component. Click add field, so I need to have the QA reviewer. This is the QA reviewer. So I have multiple, one called the BI, one called the QA reviewer. We use the QA reviewer now. This is on the screen. And what do we need to have? This is the QA reviewer record ID. So this is coming from here, QA reviewer, and I need to have the record ID. Sounds perfect. So you set QA reviewer from lookup components, unlike the other components, such as long text area and radio buttons. The lookup components has multiple potential values to reference to the ID or the value. All right, get the value from record element component. So everything, if you see, everything is coming from the screen since you captured, with the exception with this one, because this is coming from a record variable. So if you set it in the record variable, that means you need to get it from a record variable. All right, so if I need to add the case reason in here, that means I need to get it from the record. With most screen component, the value entered in this stored in the component to reference the value, with the exception for the field. For example, the point of contact component allow user to select the record, so it's a value stored within the component. For record field is a bit different because the record field has already a record var, which you can use. So if we are using case var in order to bring this, we need to refer it to as a case var. All right. So create case in here. I will add another one and I will name it case reason. And within the case reason, this is gonna be coming from the case var, and then I need to have the case reason. Perfect. So we done everything today we talked about. Allow user to upload files and then to wrap up this unit. So I need to add another screen. Screen in here to be added. And I need to have in here upload file. So I will add it to the screen. What will be the label? File load, upload to the screen. This is the upload label. File upload to the screen. Drag the, all right, my apologies. So this is the name of the screen. So for the label, for this guy, so let me take this one out. Let me go back in here. This is the screen label. And then I will be dragging the file upload, name it upload images. All right. And for the label, the case has, for file label, enter this guy. The case has been created. Do you have any related files to upload it? Yes. Allow multiple. I will make it true. Allow you to upload multiple files. And then when I upload it, I need to attach it to the case from the create case. We have the create case element, so we need to have it as a case ID. So in here, for the related record ID, here, create case ID from created case. And that's about it. Done. That's why we put the file upload after the create case. We need to create the case, get the ID, put it in here. We made it. All right, so let's debug. Let's see everything in action. 001, 003. Are we still okay? Perfect. We put a description, put a subject, update the status. Go in here saying hi. You have all the contacts coming from the contacts related to the account in a data table. We have the case reason, we have installation, we have this QA reviewer. It's required and defaulted to the current user, and then 8 to 11. And then I'll hit next. Now I have the option to upload the file, put the file, and then hit done and say finish, and we are good. So let me take that case, go in here, put this one, open the case. You will find all the details that got captured in here. And when you go to the related, now we have the attachments. Perfect. So we finished this unit as well. All right. Any questions? Perfect. The last unit will be talking about how can we improve the look and feel for the screen. What we mean by that we need to change some footer buttons labels. We need to add sections to the screen to have the screen more organized by having a section and having different columns and so on. So why we are trying to rename those footer buttons? It's to solve a problem that users found that they are starting at the very end of the screen flow. And this leads sometimes that the user is confused and create another case. So what we need to do at the end of the last screen where we upload those files, we're gonna rename it to restart. In the same time as well, if we navigate it to the flow, you will find in here that we are creating the case before the file upload screen. So if the user within the file upload screen decided to go previous, they will go back to the choice screen. But when they hit next, it's gonna create another case. So we wanna make sure that the user is informed that when they click in here in the quick, in this one, rather than saying next, they will be saying create case. And this is what we are trying to achieve in here. So what we need to do, we will go for the screen number 2, which is this one. And in here, we will have configure footer. And in here, we will have use a standard label. So instead, we will go for use a custom label. What will be the custom label be? It's gonna be create case. So rather than seeing next, because it's next if there is one more screen, it's finished if it's the last screen. So that's why we are in the next, and it's gonna be instead of next, it will be shown as create case. What else? In the upload one, we will go and again do the same exact thing. For the configure footer, within the next, I will be saying use custom label, and we will be putting the restart. Done. So this is this part. All right. So what are the next section? So let's save it and test it as we usually do. So save, and let's go for a debug just to see things in action. Here we go. And I'll put any account for now. It's all, the whole purpose is to put next in here to see that became create case. I'll be picking anything, and I'll say create reason, and I'll be picking anything. So create case, and here became restart. All right. Next one is to start creating sections. And it's mainly to make it more organized. So what we're gonna do, we will go for the first screen in here. Add a section. And what we need to pull, so add columns. So we need it to be 2 columns because it's by default, it's 1 column. So by default, it's like 50-50, 6 and 6. And then we need to drag the say text display in here. And so we need to do exactly the same. So we'll be putting in here, and then we will be putting the description down there. And on the right-hand side, we will put the case subject. And finally, we'll put the token. All right, so we aligned with the exact same experience in here. All right, so done. In the screen number 2, we'll add 2 sections because we will need to have, one of them is 2 columns and the other one would be 3 columns. So in the first one, so open section, add column, set column width to 9 and 12. So add column. And I will be putting in here 9, 12. So I'll have a bigger one for the data table and then a smaller one. And since I need the next one to be 3, 3, 6, so that means I need to have another section. and this one will be add column, and it is gonna be 3, 3, and 6. All right, so we add 2 sections, and let's start putting the things. So drag point of contact table on the first column. So I'll take this one, put it in here, and we will drag the what priority radio button component to the second one. So the priority one, let's put it in there. And then after that, I'll be putting the QA reviewer, case reason, and finally in here, this one. All right, so we now have an organized screen putting all the things together. So let's save it and let's see how this impacted the user experience and the screen. We're gonna debug, passing any parameters as we did last time. In here, input contact ID, and then run. Now, it's as you can see, it's more organized. So this is the problem description, this is the subject, this is the status. When we go for the next, now it's way better alignment, having in here, and then having the case reason, and having next. And then we can create the case, upload the file, and now everything is good. All right, what's next? And now we start going to the beginning. Now, if you remember from the demo we had, that we used to have conditional rendering based on certain pick list selections. Also, we have a validation for the input. So let's get this in action. So in the lightning page component, flow screen component support conditional visibility. When you add conditional visibility to a component, the flow display the component only when satisfy the condition. So I'll go for the number 2 in here, and I will say I need to have a conditional visibility for this one. What will be the conditional visibility? I need to say when to display the component based on the reason. So I'll go back in here, set component visibility, and I'll be saying select all conditions are met for resource select case var reason, because it's based on the variable. So this is coming from the case var, and it's based on the reason. And it's equals, if you need to have like this or that and so on, it's easier to say just separated them by comma. But if you have the other option as well to say or. But now Salesforce is going to understand that we mean by here having either equipment complexity and so on. So it's all conditions. And then I will be hitting done. Save. And let's test it. So what we are expecting when we go to page 2, based on the selection from the reason, it will determine whether to show the best time to call or to not show it. So let's go next. In here, case reason by default, it's nothing. And then I will go for installation, nothing. But if I went to equipment complexity, now we have it conditionally rendering. And this is before, and this is after. Now, let's go back to the field validation. So validate input. So improve data quality. I want to make sure when we are providing a description, it should be long enough. And how can we judge? We are in here saying that the length should be greater than or equal to it. And if this is not happening, please add more details. All right, so let's go back to the flow. In here, within the description, I will say validate input. The error message will be, please add more details. And the formula should be if the length of screen description, which is the same field, is greater than or equal to 20. So I am waiting until it's greater than, or it has to be greater than or equal to 20. And if it's less than 20, it will give me this error message. Save it. And I believe this is the end of our module together. So let's go in there, go the debug, and you will notice from now that when I hit run and start putting, please add more details. The moment I start exceeding the 20, there is no more errors. And this is the end of the module. So we made it together. The last piece that is beyond that flow and they're gonna come part of the screen flow distribution is to add this screen flow to a lightning page. All right, so how can we do that? So we did save it, but in order to start using it, we have to activate it. So I'll activate it and I will go in here. Let's say I need to add it to the contact and I needed to add it to one of the tabs. So I'll go in there saying, let me go back to the sales app. Within the contacts in here, I will open this contact. And now I need to add a new tab, exactly like what we did with the demo. So I will be doing edit page. And within the edit page, I can come in here saying I need to have a new tab. And I will be saying custom Yalla Salesforce case. All right. This will be the new tab. And now I have the option to add components. Which type of component? I need to add a flow. And within the flow, I need to specify what is the name of the flow. So if I went in here saying Basim case create, now it's gonna pop up the same flow we just did. And it's expecting me to provide parameter. So I need to pass the contact ID and the account ID. So I can say in here, pass the contact ID, and I can hard code the account ID, but this is not what I want to achieve. Ideally, I am passing the context for the record I am in, and then within the flow itself, I need to get the records. So because I have the account belonging to that contact, so I can just do get record and some assignment in order to make it happen. All right. Now let's go in here. If you remember that we have in here two input parameters. So if I put input, you will find the input account ID and input contact ID. But I want to just pass a record ID. So ideally, I will be putting in here just a variable and I'll make it as a text and I put available for input and I can say record ID. Perfect. And it is available for input. So I defined now a new one called record ID. The first step, I know that I'll be passing this from contact. So I will say get contact details. And from get contact details, I need to say get me the contact where the ID, which is the contact ID, equals the record ID I'm passing from the lightning page. After I do that, I just need one contact, but I can do an assignment in here. So to avoid changing a lot of things in the flow, because we kept referring to the input account and input contact, so I will say assign vars. And what I need to do, I need to put the input account and I will be putting the input contact. Where those gonna be coming from? There's gonna be coming from the record ID I'm passing, but the input account can get from the get contact, and I will say it's coming from the get contact account ID. Right now, everything remains the same. Save it as a new version, and I can even say come in here into the input ones. I will say this is no longer needed as an input parameter, and this is no longer needed as an input parameter. Now I am passing only one input parameter, which is the record ID, and then I am using it to get the account and contact IDs. Contact ID is the same record ID, but I'm using the account ID in here, assigning, and we should be good to go. Once activated, let me go back in here saying go back to the same page that I was editing, which is the contact page. And then I will say in here, edit page. And from edit page, I'll go to Yalla Salesforce case. Now you will find that I have only one parameter, which is the record ID, because I changed the input account and contact, passing the record ID, and I should be able to just hit save. Now, I will be creating a case. So where can I find the case? I can easily just say in here, related list single. And from related list single, you can say, yes, use this contact, and I need what is the related list? I need to see the cases. So this is the related list, and you can put it as basic or enhanced or tiled and all of these good stuff. And you can even put the filters in here on how many you want to see. So this is the case we just added as well. All right, save it, and let's hit back. Now I have Here, my flow. I added the BASM flow we just created together. If I started to put the problem description less than 20, it will not be showing up. I will say, this is my most recent case. And I will say saying, let's name it recent case. I will be making it as closed. I'll be hitting next. Gonna show me Jake. I will have in here the radio buttons we put together. The QA reviewer is defaulted by the current user. If I click the equipment, it conditional visible this time to call, and then I'll be hitting case, and then I can upload the file, put any image, and then I will hit done. And as soon as I put restart, the case got created and added to the related list. Woohoo! We made it. Thank you very much. If there is no question, wish you a wonderful day, and we'll have a short break over the next like 3 weeks, and we'll be putting all the future events in Yalla Salesforce LinkedIn page. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye bye.